On April 29, 2011, it felt like the entire world held its breath. An audience estimated at up to 2 billion people turned their attention to London, all to watch a real-life fairy tale unfold. It was the day a prince, second in line to the British throne, would marry his university sweetheart. The day a commoner would become a future queen. This is the story of the breathtaking wedding of Prince William and Catherine Middleton, a day that captured hearts around the globe and redefined the modern monarchy. William and Kate's story didn't start in a palace. It began in the ordinary halls of St. Andrews University, where they first met back in 2001. For a decade, the world watched their courtship, culminating in an engagement announced in November 2010. And so, on a cool, cloudy spring day in London, all that anticipation finally came to a head. This wasn't just a wedding, it was a global event, a spectacle of British pageantry that blended centuries of royal tradition with a love story that felt surprisingly modern. It was a moment of national celebration, marked by a public holiday in the UK, thousands of street parties, and a sense of joy that swept across the world. Long before anyone saw the bride or groom, the stage was already set for something monumental. Central London had become a sea of red, white, and blue, with an estimated 1 million people lining the streets. Some had even camped out for days to get the perfect spot. The air was just buzzing with excitement. At the heart of it all was Westminster Abbey, a place steeped in 1,000 years of royal history. 16 royal weddings had already taken place there, including the Queen's own wedding to Prince Philip in 1947, so the choice was a powerful nod to tradition. But inside, the ancient abbey was transformed. Reflecting Catherine's country roots, florist Shane Connolly had lined the aisle with an avenue of towering English field maple and hornbeam trees, each standing 20 feet high. Sourced from royal estates, these trees brought a touch of nature's beauty into the Gothic grandeur, creating the feel of an enchanted forest. A stately red carpet ran the length of the aisle, ready for the most anticipated walk of the decade. Starting at 8:15 in the morning, the 1,900 guests began to arrive, a mix of family, friends, foreign royalty, and dignitaries from all corners of the globe. Around 10:15 a.m., the excitement kicked up a notch. Prince William arrived with his brother and best man, Prince Harry. Both were dressed in the striking red uniforms of the Irish Guards, and the brothers shared smiles, their close bond obvious to everyone. As they waited at the altar, a small moment unfolded that the world would later latch on to. Thanks to lip readers, it's been widely reported that Harry, sensing the anticipation, leaned over to his brother and said, "Wait till you see her." It was this perfectly human moment, a private exchange between two brothers, right in the middle of a global spectacle. At 10:45 a.m., a trumpet fanfare announced the arrival of Her Majesty the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh. They were the last guests to be seated before the bride's procession, and the sense of anticipation, inside the Abbey and across the world, was at its absolute peak. And then, just after 11 a.m., it happened. The moment everyone was waiting for. In a slight break from tradition, Catherine arrived not in a glass coach but in a Rolls-Royce, giving the crowds one last, clear glimpse of her as a commoner on the verge of becoming royalty. As she stepped out of the car, the biggest secret of the day was finally out, the dress. And it was spectacular. Designed by Sarah Burton for Alexander McQueen, the gown was a masterful blend of tradition and modernity, with a 9-foot train that was elegant without being overwhelming. The long lace sleeves and V-neckline had people immediately thinking of Grace Kelly's timeless elegance. But the real genius was in the details. The lace wasn't just beautiful, it was symbolic. Workers at the Royal School of Needlework had hand-stitched floral motifs representing the 4 nations of the United Kingdom: roses for England, thistles for Scotland, daffodils for Wales, and shamrocks for Northern Ireland. For her, something borrowed, Kate wore the Cartier halo tiara, on loan from Queen Elizabeth II herself. As the soaring anthem, "I Was Glad," filled the Abbey, Catherine started her walk down the aisle on the arm of her father, Michael. When she finally reached the altar, Prince William reportedly leaned in and whispered, "Just for her, you look beautiful." The ceremony itself took place on the historic Cosmody pavement, a rare 13th-century mosaic floor near the high altar. It was conducted by the Dean of Westminster, while the Archbishop of Canterbury, Rowan Williams, solemnized the marriage. In their vows, William and Catherine promised to love, comfort, honor and keep each other. Now, here's an interesting detail: only one ring was exchanged. Prince William placed a wedding band made of rare Welsh gold, a royal family tradition, on Catherine's finger. He chose not to wear a ring himself, following the same preference as his grandfather, Prince Philip. The music was deeply personal, too. One of the hymns, "Guide Me, O Thou Great Redeemer," was a beloved Welsh anthem also sung at Princess Diana's funeral, a quiet, emotional nod to William's late mother. There was just one part of the service that the cameras didn't see: the signing of the marriage registers. That was a deliberate choice, giving the newlyweds and their families a brief, private moment away from the billions of eyes watching them. At the end of the service, they walked back down the aisle as the newly minted Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. When the brand new Duke and Duchess of Cambridge walked out of Westminster Abbey's Great West Door, they were hit with a wave of sound, the roar of the crowd and the joyful peal of the Abbey's bells. Just then, the sun broke through the clouds as they stepped into the 1902 state landau, the very same open-topped carriage William's parents used after their wedding. Their procession back to Buckingham Palace was just pure celebration. Escorted by the household cavalry, they smiled and waved to the hundreds of thousands of people who'd come to share their joy. The journey up the Mall was a moving river of cheering faces and waving flags, a triumphant first trip as a married couple that showcased the public's deep affection for them. Finally, they arrived at Buckingham Palace for the moment that truly seals every royal fairy tale, the balcony appearance. As the royal family gathered, the crowd below chanted for a kiss. Kate, looking out at the endless sea of people, was seen mouthing an astonished, "Wow." William, with a charming smile, reportedly turned to his new wife and said, "Go on, a little kiss." They leaned in for a modest, sweet kiss, and the crowd went wild. But they weren't finished. A few moments later, caught up in the energy, William supposedly whispered, "Let's give them another one." That second kiss, more spontaneous and joyful, sealed the moment in history and was the perfect climax to a day the world had watched with bated breath. The wedding of Prince William and Kate Middleton was so much more than just a ceremony. It was a global event that managed to blend centuries of tradition with a personal, relatable love story. It offered a glimpse of a modern monarchy, one that could still deliver magnificent pageantry, but was led by a couple who felt genuinely in love. Standing on that balcony, they weren't just the future of the crown, they were the start of a new chapter. A true, real-life fairy tale for the 21st century. What's your favorite memory from that incredible day? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed reliving this piece of royal history, be sure to subscribe for more.